Welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. I am your host. This is Nicole, and this week I am joined by Dexter,
Yo.
Armani,
What's up, guys?
and Tom.
Hello.
This week we are back to discuss two movies that we watched over the last couple weeks. We let them marinate for a little while. They came out a little while ago. American Skin and Little Things. First up, we're going to start with Little Things. We haven't done a deep dive of a movie for a little while, so are y'all ready to deep dive and spoil some movies?
Yes.
All right, so Little Things stars Denzel Washington, Jared Leto, Rami Malek, peripheral cast that is also very familiar faces. Chris Bauer, Michelle Hyatt, Terry Kinney are also in this movie. You might not recognize those names, but I guarantee you when you see their faces, people know who they are. Like Terry Kinney is the cop from Oz, or he's in Oz, so very recognizable from there. And first off, seeing this cast, what were you expecting? Did you have any expectations or thoughts or things like that? Armani?
When I saw Jared Leto in this, and I saw he was supposed to play that crazy, and who I thought was going to be the killer, all I was thinking was, what did he do to prepare? Because, we've all heard Jared Leto's horror stories of just him getting into his method acting. And I was just like, Jesus. That's all I was thinking. And, actually, and I was also interested to see Rami Malek playing something. Well, because I didn't watch the one where he was a robot, but to see him playing something he didn't have an accent in, necessarily.
Wait, who didn't have an accent in?
Rami Malek.
Oh, he doesn't have. I feel like the man always, his voice is just.
He talks.
Got it. Tom, what did you think when you saw the cast?
Oscar bait, 100%. Like, oh man, there's somebody's trying to get nominated for something. When do these movies get, how was this kept under wraps? If you were in some place sitting as an extra, wait, that's Denzel. Wait, that's Rami Malek. Wait, that's Jared Leto. Wait, that's you know what I'm saying? I appreciate when that happens, because it's not the first time you get those Academy Award winners with these super casts. Who is this? Who's directing this? And you're like, who? I don't know who this guy is, but But I just thought it was going to be that. This must be something epic about to happen.
Dexter, what'd you think?
I saw the trailer and said to myself, I don't care.
What?
That's what I was thinking. It didn't look like it was going to be anything. I think trailers and, Tom will deep dive into this, at one point. Honestly, what I was thinking was, based off of the trailer, I didn't see much substance in what I was going to watch. However, I was thinking to myself, okay, maybe it's going to have a twist. Maybe it's going to be one of those things. What I thought, Denzel thriller, okay, I guess I did think it was going to be good, but I didn't rush to watch it, and I don't know. I knew very quickly that I wasn't going to care too much, and I don't know. How'd you feel about it, Nick?
I have never really enjoyed Rami Malek. I think we discussed this, touched on this a little bit in the last podcast, that I hadn't really saw a movie that, with him in it, that to me really stood out to why he is such a big deal as people have made him out to be at this point. So there's that. And then Jared Leto is the same thing. It was just all right, my least favorite Joker. I hope that's not what I'm about to watch.
No.
Look, I have my opinion. It is what it is. And that's not even a bad, let's to derail a minute. If you're in a pool of the Jokers that we have, to say he is the worst one is not really that bad.
That's what I said.
So I'm just saying he's my least favorite Joker.
Bruh. You got so much.
Go ahead. Who
you got Jack Nicholson. Hold on, I'm just saying. You got Jack Nicholson. You have Heath Ledger.
Number 1.
You have
1 and 2. There you go.
Those are all opinions. However,
and they are mine.
It. And then you have Jared Leto, which you have dreaded Mark Hamill.
Number 6. Mark Hamill might be number 2.
And then you have Joaquin. And Joaquin is 4. Joaquin is like a cheat code,
Hamill
because
3,
he literally had his own movie. And
no, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, I thought it was a movie.
After you watch it the 5th time.
I only seen it once. I thought it was good. It was. I don't know. I didn't have those expectations out of it. Tom, did you like that movie?
What, the Joker?
Yeah.
It was cool. I enjoyed it for what it was.
All right, well, I just put the Jokers in order in my personal opinion. So, Tom, what's your personal opinion of the Jokers? Put them in order.
You know what? I'm an old person. Not old, but I grew up watching a lot of old stuff. So I grew up with watching Burt Ward and Adam West, and Cesar Romero. Like I watched Bam and WAP, and that was like my first interaction with this stuff. So I remember going to see, my dad taking me to see Tim Burton '89 Batman. So I thought that was the craziest thing. And I remember me and Dex going to see was it Dark Knight, and I thought that was the craziest thing. Jared Leto and Phoenix, they didn't do it. I think Heath Ledger might have been kind of the best for me in that portrayal. I mean, I'd like to throw Mark Hamill because that's in there as my childhood too. So I'm gonna go with Ledger, Nicholson, Hamill, and then like I said, Cesar Romero. I don't know how I feel about the whole Batman wax and boom and you know what I'm saying.
You put them above Jared Leto.
Like it's like they're like I'm indifferent about Jared Leto. I'm gonna wait to see the Snyder cut and see what he looks like in that. Okay. Whenever that drops, and maybe it'll improve it. But who knows?
Armani, put your jokers in order.
I don't think that's fair. That's not.
Life's not fair. You gotta put them in order. And again, it's a good pool, so it's not like you're really shitting on anybody. But go ahead, put them in order.
I mean, but you're making me show my age.
You showed your age.
I know they played the Joker, but I can't say I watched the old Batman movies. So it would be Heath Ledger. I actually enjoyed the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. So Ledger, Joaquin, and then Leto. I didn't really like him in Suicide Squad. I didn't really like his Joker.
Okay, but you're putting that above Jack Nicholson? Oh, you know who I left off? I left off Jerome from Gotham.
Oh, yeah.
Jared Leto, too.
Damn. He's fired. He's fired. Yo.
So, Dexter, go ahead and officially put your jokers in order.
Jack, Heath, Joaquin. What's left?
Jared Leto.
No, but what's left?
Jerome.
Mark Hamill.
And Mark Hamill.
Yeah, Jared Leto's at the end.
Damn.
Okay.
I mean, he's better than Mark Hamill. Like, Mark Hamill's a voice.
But you've never watched The Killing Joke.
It doesn't matter. It's a voice, yo. It's
but
a voice.
That Joker...
Y'all need to put some respect on somebody who can really act. You know what I'm saying? He's not even one of these overrated bums. He can act. He's just...
Who?
That's a tough act to follow.
Who?
Huh?
First off, who are you saying is
Jared Leto?
Okay.
Like having to follow all of those names that we're talking about.
Oh, for sure.
But especially Heath Ledger, who basically died for a role.
I think Heath Ledger set the bar high for every Batman villain, period. Like every Batman villain in a movie from here forward will be compared to Heath Ledger's Joker, I think.
He took method acting for.
It was amazing, though. So
I can agree with that.
Sure.
Jared Leto's running around terrorizing people on sets.
Well, okay, so I have a newfound respect for Jared Leto, though, after this movie. We're going to get to that. So, Tom, you mentioned the director of this movie. So, the director of this movie is John Lee Hancock Jr. He has written and directed The Blind Side, Saving Mr. Banks, Highwaymen, The Alamo, The Rookie, just a few movies that everyone's probably familiar with, at least one of those, so you know what else he's done. So, The Little Thing starts off with a murder.
Let me just chime in and say that I don't think I know any of those things that he's done.
You've never seen The Blind Side?
What's The Blind Side?
With Michael Orr, the little kid, Sandra Bullock.
Okay.
Didn't she win an award for that movie?
Okay.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, got it. Okay. He wrote that. Has he ever directed a movie?
Wrote and directed.
No. He directed that.
So the movie starts off with, you see a girl going on the highway, she's getting followed. So basically there's a series of murders of women very early on. Denzel Washington is going back to where he used to be a police officer at to investigate a murder that he never solved from 5 years prior. He left the police force. He moved because he had a breakdown due to this case. Rami Malek is the cop who took his position. He's investigating these new sets of murders. We see pretty clearly early on that they have their sights set on Jared Leto as the killer. All signs start to point to this guy. Well, no, there was another guy first that they thought might be the killer. And they brought him in because they said that someone saw him peeping through windows and exposing himself. So they picked him up, they bring him in for questioning, and he seems like he definitely fits the bill for a weirdo because he was doing what they said he thought that they were, or he was doing what they thought he was doing as far as peeping Tom type shit. So they arrest him. Can't really find too much more evidence to him. evidence starts to point to Jared Leto's creepy ass because
the most outwardly creepy character.
So, we're gonna fast forward a little bit. So all signs start to point to Jared Leto pretty quickly as the guy. And we watched the trailer, so we're like, all right, he's the guy. This is one of those movies you go into it based off the trailer, you feel like you already know what's gonna happen. Detective, killer, we just gotta, connect the crime to this guy, and that's what the movie's gonna be. We've all seen this movie a million times before, correct?
Sure.
Okay. Jared Leto, I feel like they made it a point to make him extra creepy. Like, just extra, this is the guy who did it. We just need to put a body, on him. And that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for him to actually just kill somebody, us to see him kill somebody. Was anybody else waiting for that, possibly?
Yeah, I was.
I thought it was going to go, in a Manson kind of way. Like, when they had that girl come to the police station and identify him.
Mm-hmm.
First, it was she was kind of like a fanatic. It seemed like they were trying to make her seem like a fanatic with how she was asking kind of to get closer to him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they gave her that really clear mugshot. So I thought it was going to be he had these girls killing people. And that's how he was able to not necessarily be near the crime, but he knew everything going on.
Dexter?
There was never a time in this movie where I knew what was going on. So I watched it twice. And the second time I really watched it. So I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Tom?
Remember there's a scene when Denzel's kind of going, what do you call it, rogue, or he's doing his own thing when he gets the new suit and he goes and starts questioning people and he goes, you know what I'm saying, this baggy ass suit and shit. He goes to the, I guess it's the maintenance place where Jared Leto works at.
Yes, the appliance
and he's
repair
looking
shop.
the appliance repair shop, and he's reading the itineraries and who's working, and the way they're framing it, Jared Leto just peeks around the corner as Denzel is walking out the door. It's okay, he's the, you know what I'm saying? It's framed so to give you that impression that this guy, yeah, he's suspect. I mean, like you said, creepy, it might be the understatement of the word for this guy, because I don't know a better word to describe the character. Creepy as shit. So it's if he's not the guy, who is?
I started to play with that theory in my head as I'm watching, because I'm it seems too obvious. And it's okay, if it's this obvious this early, this can't be it. Maybe it's not. So who could it be? And I started to think maybe Rami Malek's character was killing people. I thought maybe it's a cop. And that's why there's two cops in this movie.
I thought it was Denzel.
Yeah, I started to think that too after a while.
See, my whole thing was, this is the same thing as that movie with Hugh Jackman. What's it called?
Prisoners?
This kid, yeah. Remember how they kind of, the entire movie, they had you thinking that it was the kid, and then, you find out later on that it was something else. That's what I thought we were going to see. That's not what ended up happening. This was a very, very slow, really dark movie.
It was. To kind of talk about real quick that shot that you were talking about, or that scene that you were talking about, Tom, that's one of my favorite shots in this movie. That was a really well done scene.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Because you didn't know that Jared Leto was sitting there when Denzel went in there and he was asking questions and he's looking at stuff. And then as Denzel starts to walk out, he kind of looks back. He noticed somebody was back there, but he didn't want to give away that he knew that there was more going on or that there was some kind of connection here. So he kind of glanced back and then walked out.
Yeah, he's walking out backwards almost. And he keeps having an excuse to have one little extra word to say to the guy as he's walking out the door. I thought that was really cool how they framed that.
This was a beautifully shot movie. We can probably all agree on that.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
It was really good. So as they're working this case and they're trying to get more evidence on Jared Leto's character, they start to fumble some shit and the FBI gets brought in. And they realize that they have to kind of speed up solving this case. One of the girls who was murdered, her parents told them that she always ran with a red beret in her hair. So they were like, all right, well, we need to go search Jared Leto's place, but how can we do that? We don't have a warrant. So Rami Malek's character calls him and says, hey, I need to apologize for the interrogation. Meet me at this bar. And he says, cool, I'll meet you at this bar. Actually, pause. Let's back up. Let's talk about that interrogation scene. Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, he said, they fumbled some things. That's a big fumble.
Wait, what were you saying, Armani? About the interrogation scene?
Oh, no, I was saying, because when you had said it at first, you were they fumbled a couple things. And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty big fumble.
Yes. They bring Jared Leto in and they're interrogating him. And he's just sitting in there making jokes the entire time, just antagonizing him. He knows Denzel's character is behind the glass because he already followed him once. They're showing him these pictures and he's clearly not fazed. But he also mentions that he is a true crime fan. Now it's just like, okay, are you a true crime weirdo or are you the killer? Because I think, Tom, you had mentioned it, that they did make a point to say that he knew all of the details of these murders. But like for the original one, he was like miles away. And they knew that he wasn't there. So it's like, how did you know that these things happen? They get him out of his apartment. Denzel goes in. Jared Leto's at this restaurant waiting for Rami Malek, and he doesn't show up. And this dude quickly realizes that, oh, I know where they're at. I know what's going on here. And he calls in a police officer has been shot at an address nearby his house, which forces the cops to then like surround the block, tie everything off so he can't just slip out. And then he goes out there and stands out there and watches as Denzel crawls out of a fucking window and onto a rooftop to get the fuck away. Second favorite shot in this movie for me was Jared Leto standing there drinking that slushie and waving at Rami Malek as they're watching Denzel on the roof. What did you guys think about the fact that it's like Jared Leto almost was like 2 steps ahead of them at every turn? Tom, what'd you think?
I laughed out loud when I saw that. When I seen him shimmying up the gutter, I said, "Oh shit, that's funny as hell. That's great." You know what I'm saying? But it just goes to like the whole thing about if it isn't Jared Leto, like they're sure laying it on thick. Like you said, they're just aiming. They're like trying to aim you at Jared Leto. Like when Denzel goes in his apartment and he's got like this shit under the floorboard with all this extra stuff. All right, man. Like you Dex said, it's prisoners. It's you beating it on the head now. Like, he's got to be the guy. And if he's not the guy, like, then who did it?
Like, you're not even introducing any other characters.
Yeah, there's nothing else pointing to anyone else.
Y'all are right. There's literally like 6 characters in this whole movie. So, Dexter, what did you think about this?
Ask Armani.
Armani, what did you think about this?
I don't feel like Jared Leto was 2 steps ahead of them when it came to this scene. Because I really think if Rami Malek would have just showed up, because I understand, like, he was trying to keep lookout. But if he would have just showed up at that diner and sat there with him, I felt like that would have been a better plan. It wouldn't have given it away. Denzel would have had all the time. And at that point, whenever Jared Leto left the diner, he could have just texted Denzel to leave the apartment.
That's very true.
Well, this is the 90s. There were no texting, so you got to kind of keep that in mind.
Oh, yeah, you're right. They were on payphones. Even then, they were calling each other pretty quick.
After this, Rami Malek just goes straight to Jared Leto and is like, look, I know you did this. You're going to tell me where the bodies are buried. And he starts to rough him up a little bit. Third favorite scene. Like, Jared Leto through this entire movie, I totally enjoyed his performance. I'm now, I don't want to say a Jared Leto fan because I feel like that might be a little too much. But I thoroughly enjoyed his performance in this movie. And I believe he got a Golden Globe nomination from it as well. And I understand why. So he tells him he's going to take him to see where the bodies are buried. So he takes Rami Malek out down this long dirt road on this property and tells him, here, start digging right here. And he's like, no, you start digging. He's like, nah, you want to find this body, not me. He's like, oh, you don't need that gun. He's like, you can hold on to it and dig at the same time if you want to, but, it'd be easier if you put the gun down and you dig, but I'm not going to dig type of thing. That flex right there of I don't need to do this, you need to do this, I also thought was pretty dope. As far as the interaction between Jared Leto's character and Rami Malek's character throughout this.
Jared Leto was killing him.
He really was.
He was he killed him till he got.
Rami Malek is digging the hole, and Jared Leto's talking to him and telling him stories. And then he's like, "Oh shit, that's the wrong spot." After this poor man's probably been digging for probably at least like 45 minutes. Let's just say 45 minutes he's been digging. He's like, I think it might be a little over to the left or whatever. Let's just, I'm not going to use the exact words he said. So he starts digging in another hole. He has Rami Malek out there digging mad holes all over the place to the point where he finally gets pissed. So he hits him over the head with the shovel and he kills him.
He was talking shit. He was talking so much shit to him.
He did. He deserved. I mean.
I'd have hit him with the shovel. Huh? Creepy ass. I'd have hit his creepy ass with the shovel too.
So that was an interesting point. I was like, oh, wait a minute. How far into this movie are we? Now we've got a whole nother movie here. Like, it's no longer trying to catch that killer. It's how do I cover up that I just killed this person who is the killer? I was like, oh, that's what we're going to do. That's why Jared Leto was like, okay, he's the only person that we've talked about doing this crime. because we're gonna kill him and they're gonna stop. Got it. And now it's gonna be about Rami Malek trying to get out of whatever he did. It's what I thought was gonna happen here. Denzel shows up and he's like, "Nah, we're not calling nobody. You got holes. Put them in one, cover it up, and I'll be back in a few hours." So Denzel turned into the equalizer right here, the cleanup man. He went and did his thing. They came back, but Rami Malek is clearly having a breakdown at this point, and Denzel just tells him like, "Look, calm down. Don't worry about it. He wasn't a good person. It doesn't matter. Like you."
Denzel went to his house.
He went to Jared Leto's house, yeah.
Yeah, because he was looking in that hole. Because I remember specifically looking at him look down at the hole, and I was like, why did his face look like that? And then I rewound it, and I was like, oh, because, you know, the camera was from the bottom, so he was, like, looking down or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you could see, like, his face, like, gravity had his face looking all chunky. I was like, yo, why didn't it look like that? I guess he went to Jared Leto's, but what was he doing?
I don't know.
That's a very good question.
I was trying to make it look like he dipped out.
Oh, okay. So he was trying to make it look like he just left town?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because, I mean, he gave his car away.
I have a thing.
Go ahead, Tom.
A sidebar, like, and I don't know if we didn't bring it up, but, yo, Denzel was doing some creepy shit. He was talking to, like, ghosts or some shit in the movie. Mm-hmm. That really threw me off. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, this chick was, like rubbing his feet or some shit. Like that just was like, what the hell's going on? You know what I'm saying? That's when I started to think maybe Denzel did it, because he clearly off. You know, there's a time when Rami Malek runs up, he's sitting in the dark with the flashlight. Oh man! So I started to think he did it. Like when Dex said, like he went back. I thought it was kind of weird too. Like what? I don't know. That was just a weird thing. Jared Leto was creepy, but that was just strange. I don't know.
Yeah, Denzel definitely was doing some odd shit throughout the movie, which made you think that maybe these newer murders could have been him or something. He could have been involved, for sure. So they hide the body. Denzel tells him, look, you take some time off work. You know, I'll take care of this. You don't have to worry about anything. And it's getting to the point where Rami Malek's character looks like he wants to confess what he's done because it's weighing on him so heavy. And then Denzel sends him an envelope, a package with a red beret. And this is a call back to when the one young lady's parents told him that she always ran with the red beret in her hair. When Denzel left the apartment, he asked him, did you find a red beret? And he's like, maybe if I had like 5 more minutes, I might have found it. So he sends him this red beret. And he's like, it's okay. It was him. Like, you killed the right guy. Like, don't feel bad. You killed the killer. Like, you saved some lives. So Rami Malek kind of starts to chill out. But then we quickly see that Denzel lied to him. Jared Leto was not, in fact, the killer, because we then get some more bodies. More women die the same way. Killer is still out there. This, to me, I felt, this is where it lost me. I was enjoying the movie up until this point right here, because you gave us all this Jared Leto being extra creepy, and then you kill him, and it wasn't him. But I think, Armani, like you were saying, they didn't give us an ending, is they never pointed us towards anybody else. The movie just ends, basically.
Yeah, it's like, why? What was this? What was the reason?
It was for HBO Max.
This movie is actually the highest grossing rated R movie since COVID started. It opened up to,
I think you said 4 million, and it was like expected to make 2.
Yes, expected to make like 2.5 and ended up making 4. Ended up making like 4, and that's just domestically in the U.S. It also exceeded box office expectations in China. Overall, okay, so let's talk about this. This movie, the budget was $30 million was the budget for this movie. It has only brought in $13 million. So while they're saying it's a box office success compared to everything else that's come out, post-COVID, that's a chunk of money to lose.
Who said it's lost?
Where's it at, if it ain't lost?
Subscription.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Ooh, but who's that money going to, though?
Exactly. This is distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures. Warner Brothers owns HBO?
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, like, it's all, I think the only reason why they're able to do this is because they're all owned by the same people anyway. If you think about it, now they have the whole entire process. They have the whole machine. Basically, they have the release. They have, like, the rights to release it in the movie theaters and the rights to release it on streaming. And then the normal cycle is they're going to take it off, and then they're going to sell it. And then after they sell it, they're going to put it back on HBO Max. And you have it forever, pretty much. I mean,
like, if you think about, like, back in the day, I think it was MGM who they had to create a whole law because MGM used to own the theaters too. You know what I'm saying? Because it's only like what, Warner Brothers, MGM, Fox, something else, Paramount. They're like the big dogs. So they used to own the theaters, and the government had to step in and say, no, you can have the film studios, but you can't own the theaters. So that's why you get that deal when, you know, something like Star Wars comes out. And, you know, they get 100% of the sales for 2 weeks. And then after that 2 weeks, like 50% of it goes to the theater chains. So you get something like that said, they own this machine now. You know what I'm saying? They can put it out, not put it out, or just stream it any way they want to.
Like think about
like you said, like it's like if they want to put it out on HBO Max for 30 days, then they can do it because they own it now.
And they did. Like Wonder Woman, I don't think you can watch Wonder Woman anymore on there.
Nah.
I believe it's been taken off. Now it'll go through its regular cycle where it'll get some actual money from it. People who like to buy DVDs and people like to, you know, own things, you know, digitally. And that's it. Like they get to, so I don't know if they're necessarily losing money when they're getting subscriptions from people. Like if you think about them getting $10, like that's $10 that a lot of people don't go to the movies. Like those people are like us. We all giving them HBO money. I mean, that's the movie tickets. That's in the movies, and it's literally straight to them. It's not even, they don't even have to break it down no more. They don't have to split none of that popcorn money, none of it. Because if you think about it, like, you know, when you think about the movie theater experience, sometimes you don't go or you're not willing to. Some people don't want to go and just go see a movie. I know myself, if I don't got no money, me or like Tom, like we'll just go to the movies and we don't need no popcorn. We going to watch the movie if we broke. But I mean, that hasn't been something in a while. However, I think most people aren't going to the movies unless they have that experience or whatever. Think about just cutting that experience out. It's just like you asking us WWE lose money because they're not doing the pay-per-view thing anymore. They have to cut Comcast in and whoever because it has to go through them and they got to collect it later and, you know, all that. Nah, just give it to me. I'll break it down. Don't you worry. Straight
right. Think about last night. Did y'all watch the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Yep.
You see, like, you know, so it's on CBS. You seen how many Paramount Plus commercials there were?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, CBS, they got smart. Just take the CBS All Access name and throw that all out the way.
Mm-hmm.
It was Paramount Plus. Think about how many people. I heard, like I said, I remember we talked about it. Like Netflix and Apple wanted $200 million with the Paramount for $200 million for Top Gun for the sequel. And they said no. But now they got Paramount Plus coming out. They can put their own movie out on their own streaming site and say, hey, you guys can, if you want to see Top Gun Maverick, pay blah, 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 blah. And there's people that might actually pay for that.
Yeah.
So I think they'll put it on the theater, though. I think they're still going to put that in the theater.
I do think all these movies are going to be theater releases and then released on the streaming app that the company owns. It's probably the way it's going to go, which it makes sense. But yeah, the ending was just like, damn, Rami Malek's gonna find out when he goes back to work that he was wrong. So why even do the lie? Like the dude had to come back off leave at some point, and when he came back off leave, he's gonna come back to more cases. So that's what really killed it for me. Like that was just stupid.
Yes, blind hope.
And Denzel was going back to his regular job. Like he was leaving town, so it was almost like, well, you're good. I'm leaving. I don't have to deal with this anyway. So. I'm out.
Yo, I'll help you cover up this body.
Basically. So, okay. That was the little things. Overall, Dexter, what'd you think of the movie?
Money grab.
Tom.
Cinematic blue balls, like I said.
Armani.
7 out of 10.
So, fun fact, this movie was given to Steven Spielberg to direct. He said no thank you.
Oh.
A little too dark for me.
Oh, okay.
Not my cup of tea. They then took it to Clint Eastwood, Warren Beatty, and Danny DeVito to direct. All of them were like, nah, I'm good.
What is Warren Beatty and Danny?
That's what I was about to say. Who's taking this from Danny DeVito?
I think Warren Beatty's directed stuff, but I don't know nothing about Danny DeVito.
All I'm saying is, I get what's, I think my biggest thing about this movie was a movie about stuff that you didn't see visually. Like, you didn't really see nobody get killed. It was nothing to be invested in. Like, it didn't.
It was a lot of
little things.
Yeah, little things that went nowhere is what it was. So Danny DeVito has directed The Ratings Game. He directed Throw Mama from the Train. He directed War of the Roses, Hoffa, Matilda, Death to Smoochie, Duplex. Yeah.
Yo, my bad, Danny.
Yeah.
You just said Death to Smoochie?
Yes.
Oh,
War of the Roses and Matilda. No disrespect, Mr. DeVito.
right.
What about Warren Beatty?
All right, let's see. What has Warren Beatty directed?
Bullworth.
Right? I was thinking the
Dick
same
Tracy.
shit. Okay.
I don't know. I know that was.
No, I just said those.
I can see that, though. It sounds like he might have directed. Nope, you're right. Dex Woolworth, Dick Tracy.
Oh, he directed both of those things.
Yep. Rules don't apply. So I don't know what that is.
Heaven Can Wait. Red.
Those are things he's just in, right?
No, that was director.
Oh, okay.
I think this guy was probably better off doing it himself. I don't know if, and I guess, I mean, that's the thing too. Sometimes when you write something, you write it from the aspect of being able to, like, seeing it. You have these scenes in your head when you're writing and what you want it to look like, what you want it to feel like. And sometimes you're probably just the best person to execute that concept as well.
Yeah, and I think even after reading off the list of movies like that Danny DeVito made, like, were you gonna watch this movie and then say from the makers of Matilda? Like,
Yeah, that's definitely.
From the director of Matilda. That would have been crazy.
yeah.
All right, that's Little Things. To me, it's I mean, if you're a Denzel fan, you're gonna watch it. A lot of people are gonna watch it. It's gonna get watched. That's without question. American Skin, written and directed by Nate Parker. This is the second movie that he's written and directed. He did. So yeah, what'd you say, Armani?
I was just saying it was Birth of a.
All right. So also directed, wrote, and directed Birth of a Nation. He also stars in this movie. So that's a bullet point for later as well. So wrote, directed, and starred in both the movies that he has written and directed. So he wears all the hats there. This movie starts out with him and his son. He's taking his son out, spend time with him. They get pulled over by the cops. And we've seen this scenario play out in real life enough times to know where this is going. Mm-hmm. First off, did anyone see any trailers for this? I don't remember seeing any trailers for this.
I believe I saw it on YouTube.
Okay. Dexter, did you ever see a trailer for this?
No.
How the fuck did we find out this existed? Just word of mouth?
Yeah, I seen it on social media. Someone said, I think it was Kev. Shout out to Kev Caventes. I think Kev said this was a good movie, and yeah.
Because there's literally no box office information for it. It was released at the Venice Film Festival, and that's all we've got so far. And then there's a release date, but there's a budget at a $5 million budget, but there's no numbers yet on how much this movie made. And it was released on January 15th, so that's more than enough time to have had, if it played in theaters, which now I'm wondering if it did. I'm probably going to edit that part out, though, that question. Anyway, so him and his son and drive.
I mean, it was straight on demand, so probably was in some theater. However,
very limited.
They've been giving him a hard time getting in theaters.
What was the release date?
September 1st, 2019 for the film festival. January 15th was the United States release.
In 2021.
In 2021, yes.
So
2 years later. Yeah. Anyway, so him and his son get pulled over by the cops, and his son decides that he wants to record. And this is one of those situations where we know where it goes. We know where it's gonna go. And during it, for me watching it, it's hard because it's like if he had just listened to his dad, if he'd just sat the fuck still, if he'd just put the camera down, if he'd just sat on the ground. There's so many if he had just ofs, this may not have happened moments in it, which I found interesting that they were even there in the first place, just because it was written by a black person wrote this. I would expect to see that from someone else, but so I was kind of surprised by that there. Do we even need to go any further into this beginning scene as far as what happens with the son?
No, it wasn't even really complicated. They didn't put too much into that. They really just kind of wanted to set the scenario up, because really, if you think about that scenario, it's kind of stupid. There was no gun. I hate the narrative of he was gonna grab my gun. Like, you just didn't like the fact that he was, So I don't know. They made sure that it was kind of just like in Queen and Slim, where they let you know there's no reason to even be on the other person's side. Never be, like, they make sure that you're not on the cop's side, because they make sure that the protagonist doesn't do anything. So he had a phone. So you had a reason to be tight about it. So he had a phone. He didn't do nothing stupid. He didn't do nothing crazy. They didn't even really show that scene too much. You just know it happened. And then it goes into, you know, what the movie really is.
Yes, which is Nate Parker is approached by these kids wanting to do a documentary or tell the story about what happened to his son a year later. And he agrees. And he's like, you know, we're going to go somewhere to get something real quick. Y'all go ahead and come with me right along. He takes them and he goes and takes the police chief hostage and then proceeds to meet up with some of his family members. And they take the whole police station hostage is what happened. So it's like, all right, this is going to be interesting. What the fuck are we going to do? He's going to go in there and shoot up the police station. He decides to hold a trial for the cop who killed his son. And doing so in a way that he uses the people who worked in the police station, like secretaries and office clerks and janitors, as well as prisoners who were there as jury. He makes the other cops that were there, he handcuffs them, zip ties them, whatever, makes them sit there and watch, puts the guy on trial. So they go over all the events of the day that happened and led up to the shooting. So this movie also stars Theo Rossi, everyone's least favorite biker.
Juice.
Also stars Amari Hardwick as well. Bo Knapp. I would be interested to know, he is the guy who plays the cop who shot the kid. He also murdered a black kid in 7 seconds. This is the second time he has taken on a role like this.
How do you feel they keep tapping you for this role?
That's question number one. And why do you keep saying it? Like, if I see him in one more movie.
Yeah, that's a different type of typecast. Yeah, that's something else.
It's hard out there, man. I'm sorry. I guess it's funny because I just watched 7 Seconds just recently, maybe within the last 2 months. And then I see this and I'm like, yeah, that's the same dude. In 7 Seconds, he runs over a kid. Tom, did you watch 7 Seconds?
Know what it is? I've never seen it.
Yeah, he runs over a kid, and then, you know, the homies, his little cop friends tell him, chill out. You checking to see if that's actually him?
No, I was checking to see what else he's played in.
Got it.
To see if I've possibly seen him in something else and just didn't realize it until now.
But that is the same guy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, you can't mistake that face. He's got a very distinct face.
Yeah, he does. When I first started watching, I had to stop. Like, where do I know you? I've seen you in something.
Yeah.
Sappy face.
He does distress. He does I'm stressed out really well. Maybe that's they keeps happening for these roles. They put him on trial. He, you know, asked these people to be objective, to be honest, to give a verdict at the end of all of this. And he asked them, will they be able to do it truthfully or just do it unbiased? And they're like, that's not the problem. We can deliver a verdict, but are you ready to hand out whatever type of punishment you plan on handing out at the end of this? And he's like, yeah. So then everybody starts to wonder, like, if we find him guilty or if he's found guilty, what is the punishment going to be? Are you going to kill him? Through the course of this movie, we get things that we've seen in other movies similar to this. We get a lot of discussion, like with arguing with Theo Rossi and the Mexican prisoner about how Latinx people are perceived and struggles there that Theo Rossi feels are struggles as far as it's hard for him because these guys with tattoos and gang members make it hard for him. But then we also see a female cop who steps up and is like, shit, what you mean? Like,
I'm a minority and a girl.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I got a double hard. Stuff like that. It was nice I was happy that they had a cop or two actually be like, nah, it's not that sweet. It's not as nice as y'all white cops try to make it seem. Like, it's not that black and white.
Yeah, they seem to have every type of representation. Not every, but they had numerous ways of people speaking up and expressing themselves. Because you had a white cop, had, like, everybody I think could relate to somebody.
In that room.
Yeah.
Where did this take place? And this is LA?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I did like the fact, or appreciate the fact, or it was not lost, that the cop who was handling Nate Parker during that traffic stop, he wasn't being an asshole. Like, he was kind of just going with the flow. Like, he wasn't doing the most. It was his partner who came up and turned the situation up. And when they were in the room, he was even being slightly objective. He was trying to de-escalate the situation as much as he could while they were in that room as well. So at the end of the day, the jury finds him guilty, okay? He was responsible for the death. Clearly he was responsible because at the end of the day, I think the message here was you're scared right now when you're a grown man. You had a gun point on a child. Imagine how scared he was. It's pretty much like what I took away from a lot of that situation. So they find him guilty. Then he's like, I'm not gonna do anything to you. I'm gonna let you. After he makes him call his wife, and he thinks he's about to die, she thinks he's about to die. Puts him through that, which I wasn't mad at either. Like, yeah, put him through every emotion known to man. I'm okay with because of what he did. Because at the end of the day, we know he's gonna get off. He's not fucking actually gonna be held accountable for it. Go to leave the police station. They get ready to leave the police station. At this point, what did y'all think of the actual jury trial type thing? The way that he handled this. Tom, what did you think about it?
With the verdict or just the whole trial part?
The whole trial part in itself. Like his whole plan, right? Like,
You like it?
Well, I enjoyed the whole part with the him walking the convicts out. I thought that was funny. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like, well, these aren't my peers. He's like, well, now you know how I feel. These, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, who are you judging us? And now these are the people that, you know, these are the people you don't really interact with. You just have, especially with Theo Rossi talking to the Mexican guy with the tats. You know, so I don't know. I don't even know what they were saying because I didn't have these subtitles. But it sounded like some greasy ass shit, and I really wanted to know what he was saying to him. But he could see Theo Rossi just getting pissed off, like, yo. But you know what I'm saying? It's just, and then you know that's when the female officer spoke up to him, like, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those crazy like lines that you know. I think perspective is everything. If you don't have that, saying you can't really do that job.
Armani.
Honestly, my whole feeling towards this movie while I was watching it was why. Like, why are we doing that again? Like,
so you didn't finish the movie. How far did you get?
Up until like right when they were going to the police station. I will say I did go back and then I read the Wikipedia after of what I did not finish. And again, it was just a why. Like I get it was a good movie. Like those scenes were great, but it's just a why. It's 2021. We get it. We're living it.
So I think it is to that point. It is fair to say, which we did not know. We don't know this when you're watching this movie in 2021. The fact that it was released in 2019, which means it was probably shot in 2018. So it is truthfully a few years old. So we got to allow a little, I guess, a grace period.
Oh, you said it came out 2019?
No, the Venice Film Festival released there in 2019.
Okay.
So
wait, you never got to the trial?
No, but I mean, in perspective with that, I guess it does make sense for the time that it actually came out.
Yeah, we're going to abstain from you for the rest of this conversation, just because like that trial is the movie. Like the scenes in the police station, the conversation in the police station, it's really not even necessarily. I don't want to say it's not about his son being shot. It's legitimately about what takes place in that police station. Dexter.
Like when I watched this the second time, I didn't even care to watch the setup. The part that you seen, like that part wasn't even.
You can really skip that.
I didn't want to. Yeah, like you could really skip that and get to the part where they're actually in, because it's all the emotion that comes with. I understand what you're saying, because if you only seen up to that part isn't necessary. That is exactly. I guess it's repetitive, and I think if
Trauma
you get
porn.
to that point, yeah, I mean, just the way that it plays out, where you know you're watching this thing set up, and you know you're like, where's this going? And I think you have to get there in order for you to understand where it was going, for you to see all of the emotions that were going through that room during that conversation, and how the jurors were interacting with the prisoners, and the prisoners were interacting with the cops, and then the cops being the ones that were restrained. And then you have Nate Parker, and he has some thugs with him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just like the cameraman. Like, it was just a unique thing that had never been done. And I think you had to probably make it to the end to get the full effect. Tom, how did you feel about the movie?
Well, when I saw it, I don't know if it was you that brought it up. I was thinking about what was it, Fruitville Station. You know, I know that movie struck a chord for me because I didn't really know what Fruitville Station was when I saw it. Whereas this, I kind of had an idea where the story was going.
Right.
Like to kind of echo what you were saying, like, you know, just the interaction between Nate Parker and the cops, and then the prisoners and the other people they had on the jury. Like when that one cop, when the one prisoner grabs the cop's gun, he shoots the cop, or shoots he shoots Nate Parker's homie by accident. And then it's like when, you know, and they end up having to bring the kid shooting the documentary in and put him on the jury. I think when they went into the room to kind of deliberate I think that was kind of the meat and potatoes of everything that
Yeah.
happening. And that scene right there with the white lady that was talking and the other white guy was sitting there like, saying like the hardest thing a cop has to do is pull somebody over. That's the traffic stop. And how the white lady and and that guy was having this conversation, and then you have the kid doing a documentary saying, I got uncles that are cops, but to hear like, this has got to stop, or what he was saying, you could see the emotion that this kid was having and this decision that they were all pretty much putting on him. And this was all his he kind of set everything in motion with wanting to do this documentary.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a real cool scene. I like that. I liked that part of the movie. Like Dex said, you could kind of skip through a lot. Just think that was like probably the best scene for me in the movie.
They find the police officer guilty, and he has a moment where he's clearly taking in the magnitude of what he's done. And when Nate Parker's like, I'm not going to, granted, he pulls a trigger on an empty gun at this guy's head. After that, he's like, all right, well, we're done. We're leaving. We're going to get out of here. So they put the prisoners back, and they're going to walk everybody out or get everybody out safely. And then the officer he offers to walk out with Nate Parker's character. He wants to walk him out. I kind of felt like the black sheriff, the police chief, he should have been the one to do it, in my opinion. But he did it. He said he wanted to do it. So they're all walking out. We get to the door. We see the camera. And then the snipers shoot and kill Nate Parker's character as he's exiting. As the cops are yelling, he's unarmed. And he has his hands up. They shoot him on the way out. I was like, that's trash. And then we start to see these clips of news casts or whatever spinning this narrative that he's a terrorist and he has Muslim ties and all this kind of yada, yada, yada kind of shit. So.
And mental problems.
Yeah, he had mental problems and things like that. So kind of going back to the budget on this movie, not seeing how much it's made. I guess we could probably find out how much it's made if it's made any money. Do you guys feel like the fact that Nate Parker wrote, directed, and stars in it at this point, knowing what comes along with him at this point, do you think he hurt himself by doing that anyway? Possibly? Does that hurt the distribution of this movie? Does this hurt who wants to put it in their theaters and things like that? Do you feel like that he needs to start to... Because this was a good movie. It was a good story. It was well done. But I feel like some people aren't going to get it because all they're going to see is Nate Parker's name.
Just him attaching his name to it.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think you can not attach his name to it in the sense of like, doesn't mean like if you switch a character and make the main character someone else, doesn't make a studio still not going to want to deal with him. He's the person that they have to deal with. Still his movie, still directed and written by him. I mean, I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is he's making revolutionary stuff. I think, unfortunately, the thing that happened in his past, it haunts him. But I'm not really sure if anybody else can do this type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so if you take it and you take it to like music, like certain people only do certain music and it takes certain people to do certain things. They're not, I don't know, just somebody that goes against the grain.
Tory Lanez?
You know what I mean? No, what?
I mean, I was trying to pick someone who's currently like in the thick of things and people are...
Nate Parker is not guilty. I don't even know what this is really all about. Like, he's not guilty. Like,
so are you finally
he needed to have a
that
movie.
He shot her?
He needed to have a movie. He shot who?
We're not gonna. Okay, so we're not going to go into that case. All I was bringing up was
what I'm saying is this. I think at the end of the day, he came out with a Nat Turner movie, and that was. I think it's okay for white people to do slave movies. It's not okay for us to do slave movies. It's all right for them to go and dive into ours and, you know, Django, Matthew McConaughey,
Ethan Hawke.
That's a different story, yo. But when you go back to all the other slave movies, they're all done by white men. You know, black man ain't make Rosewood, did he?
No, I don't know.
Actually,
did it?
Is that a John Singleton movie?
I feel like,
something?
yeah, I feel like it might.
Because if it is, I understand because it's fire. You know, we're not walking around here doing that. And so I could understand why Armani doesn't necessarily want to deal with that, you know what I mean? Or want to, like you said, it's 2021. Why do we have to keep watching that? But I think that this one is a little bit more unique than those other ones because I don't think that this has been done.
Yeah, I will say, like, because it was released in if came out in 2019, that's a whole different frame of things. And I feel like them trying to release it to a bigger crowd now may have also hurt it, just for that reason.
You're saying the delay in release, because now we're at a point where we don't want to see this. That's like the reason why you didn't finish it. There's a lot of people who feel the way you feel and don't want to watch any more Black trauma.
Yeah, and it's like not everyone's gonna necessarily go and look up and see that it did come out originally in 2019. So now we're looking at it like, oh, you just out here making Black trauma movies first thing in 2021. So
that's probably fair. How did you feel about the movie overall, Tom?
At first when I saw it, I mean, I thought it was, I see the importance of a story like this. Like you with Armani saying that, I think if it was timed better, we can't judge it because we didn't know what was going to be happening in some of these things. But like I said, if you look at something like Fruitvale Station that came out a minute ago, that was years ago, and it's almost like it's a situation of a police officer shooting someone, an unarmed Black person like that. So it's not a story we haven't. But as far as this movie, it was like it felt like it was kind of mistimed in its release a little bit. Like maybe it should have been released earlier. I enjoyed it, for the story that it was told. At first, when I saw the end, I was kind of pissed off that he got shot. And that was my initial reaction. But the more I thought about it, and I thought about the crime that he just committed, I'd like, yeah, you probably would have got shot either way if you walked out. You know what I'm saying? But you just set it up. They set it up in a way to make you think it was all good, and they walked him out, and he still got killed. I mean, I guess, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was deep. I think it's a story that is relevant. Like Dex said, it's something that this was done a little differently. You get the perspective of someone really, holding the cop accountable, you know what I'm saying? Or getting to hold the cops accountable in that way, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the unique thing about the story that I enjoyed.
Okay. So we've gotten everyone's opinion on it. You gave your opinion on what you thought overall, right?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty dope.
I agree. Anytime we can see something that's just giving more perspectives, but it's almost preaching to the choir, I feel like a little bit. Because I feel like the people who need to get that message aren't going to watch this movie.
But that's the thing. I think that's why I say, you saying it being put out by someone else, I don't know if it would matter, unless Steven Spielberg put that shit out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not gonna. Unfortunately, the platform is what matters most. Unfortunate, and what's also unfortunate is when you try to do something and take a stand, it ain't gonna be put on the biggest stage. Like it's just not. It's never gonna be put on the biggest stage. Like you're seeing. Look at how they spun it. No one will ever know. No disrespect to law enforcement or whatever. But in reality, they're the biggest spin artists in the world. Nobody covers up things more than them. Nobody protects their own more than them. If you talk about 7 Seconds and this movie, that's what these two things have in common. You have these two people doing a crime, and all of the antics and all of the action, all of the processes, and all of the lack of rights. I mean, not lack of rights. All of the, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Next up, the next movies that we're going to deep dive on is Malcolm and Marie and
Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yes.
That'll be out in a couple of days.
So Judas and the Black Messiah will be on HBO on the 12th.
Yeah, on Friday.
And then Malcolm and Marie is out now, and you're able to stream that on
Netflix. It's a Netflix original with John David Washington and Zendaya.
Have either of you watched Malcolm and Marie yet?
I have. Oh.
I haven't yet.
Armani said you have.
I have.
Okay. That's good to know.
The world is saying it's toxic, guys.
We're not even going to get into that. I was really about to just end the podcast and then we could talk about it, off air.
I'm just saying. I'm just letting y'all know, for people that
shit is toxic.
All right, well, watch
okay,
it.
So
watch it and we'll talk about it.
Yes, we will. And it's already shaping up to sound like it's going to be an interesting conversation.
I heard it was good. Somebody came up to me today because I'm the movie guy at work. So everybody, did you watch it? And I'm like, not yet. And they're like, oh, I liked it. Yeah, okay.
There are things to like about it for sure.
I think John David Washington is spazzing, and they said that's the best part or something like that. And he started spazzing. I don't know.
She liked it yet, Tom.
Oh yeah, it was a dude that told me he liked it too. I was like, okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's telling. So telling. But on that note, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. Make sure to like, rate, subscribe, follow us on the social medias. If you're listening to this on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Check us out every week.
So until next time, take care of yourselves, be good to each other, be safe, and wash your hands.
Yes. Yes.
Stay the fucking side.